What's up, guys? Ronin Man here. We're talking about PJ Washington, basketball player on the Charlotte Hornets. And I got trusty Gabe on my side here. What's going on, Gabe?
What's up, guys? What's up, Ronin?
Dude, tell me about this situation. I want to hear the rundown.
All right, so what's happening? We're doing a little celebrity talk, not because it's really about the celebrity in question, but because of the situation. So
Right.
there's a lot of rumors, a lot of gossip going on, but essentially, you have a basketball player that got married to a woman that's 7 years older than him. He's 22 now, and she's 29, I believe. Um, as soon as she gave birth, she divorced him. So we're talking about, I guess, predatory women, but this time we actually mean a woman that is like a predator in the sense of
I think
whether.
it's much more than this though, because the courts awarded. We don't know how much, and he himself said, "Stop capping." Everybody talking about it. People were saying that the rumor was that there was a $200,000, and I even saw a $250,000 child
Yeah.
support monthly child support bill. But I think it's dangerous to jump on that bandwagon. One, because he said don't stop capping. Two, because we haven't seen the paper, so this is just rumor. We do. It seems to be true that there was a brutal child custody alimony award. That seems to be pretty much without a doubt. And the question is, like, he barely knew her, right? And
Yeah.
also, she files 2 weeks. Was it 2 weeks after the baby was born or after they got married?
I think 2 weeks after the baby was born.
Okay, so it's just basically like right in the beginning. And then this is what's so different about this case is we're not talking about Bill Gates here. We're not talking about Jeff Bezos. Where, their wives stuck with them for many decades through thick and thin as they built their businesses, right? We're talking about somebody who came in and 2 weeks after the baby's born, she's hitting
Meaning
them with
now
the,
she's locked in, right? If it was 2 weeks after the marriage, okay, that could probably be absolved. 2 weeks after the baby's born, you're on the hook. That
right.
is,
And then combined with, I think the other interesting aspect of it is there's a lot of people think that one of the major problems with marriage these days, why things are turning out so messed up, is because of the lack of no fault divorce or the no fault divorces that started in California. Before that, there was a sense like like if you were watching a judgment, right? There was a sense of fairness. So, for example, let's just say something real simple, like you and your brother are throwing rocks, and one goes through a window, and then your mom says, what happened here, boys? And then you're like, he did it, and then the other guy tells another part, you know, he did this, and then she listens to the whole story, and then she tries to suss out what's true, what's not, and then she makes a decision, right? She doesn't just come in and say, you know, for one guy, he gets, you know what I mean? She listens to fair rendering of the event, right? And there always is a story, right? And especially in marriages, but with no fault divorces. So, what the situation now, it's pretty crazy. A lot of guys don't know, but you could come home and your wife, literally, and I'm sure this has happened. I heard about a guy actually that's happened to. He came home from work and her wife was sucking a dude off in the kitchen. And then she didn't stop when he came in. And then he like yelled and started screaming. And then she said, "That's verbal assault. I'm going to sue you," or something. And then, "Screw you." And he kept doing it. And then she sued him for divorce and took his house. And, you know how it is with dividing assets. It ends up being much more than half because you got to sell things, right? Using an inopportune time. Right? So divorce is just a brutal thing. And when there was, when the judge would look at the two parties involved and make an assessment, there was more of a fairness. But today, with no fault divorce, like it literally does not matter. It's not even listened to what she did. And because now it's no fault divorce, so I can only assume that her background, and we're going to talk about that, because her background is very unique. Her
Right.
background is this is this is really Gabe, you didn't really say the real reason why this thing is so hot is because of what she did pre meeting him and then post this whole situation, right? So let's talk about that. What did she do?
Well, well, she's famous.
Who was
Well,
she?
she's an Instagram influencer, right? And she is known for sleeping around with basketball players and rappers, stuff like that. And she makes it publicly known.
Oh
She's not
yes,
something she ever hid. She.
right. No, that's a key point. Is that she's not? It's not she's known because that is like people judging. People make no. She is proud of it.
Yeah, she has a YouTube channel where she talks about her endeavors or whatever it is. So
Oh yeah,
it's
it's graphic, guys. It's very graphic,
right, right.
and
Yes.
it's straight up. Uh, it's kind of like I guess the ultimate not to count girl. Very proud of it on display. I sucked all of them off. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Right,
That's the way she talks in her videos. And
right.
so we had somebody who she talks like this. Then she meets this guy. Then he gets big, he gets a new contract, which is a very good contract for a guy like him. Huge contract. I forgot what he does. I think it's 14 million. But anyway, he gets a big contract. And then she puts, she ties him down, and everybody's, telling this guy, don't go with this girl, don't go with this girl. And she had like I don't know, did she have a book? She had some really graphic videos. Like
Mm,
I was really surprised her videos.
yeah. And he didn't listen, and now all of us get to learn from his mistakes, I suppose. So
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I want to like really present this as fair as possible because for one thing, I've had things written about me in the media outside of this channel. I had a very I've been in the media a lot, and I know what it's like to have people talk about me and not know what they're talking about. So I want to be very careful there because you gotta, people forget these are human beings. You know what I mean?
right,
Both her,
right.
him, and the baby, they're all human beings. At the same time, as we're trying to figure out, like we're full on red pill, we want to know what the fuck's really going on, right? So
Yeah.
the guy, one thing I want to dispel, a lot of guys, there's a lot of channels, okay, let's put it that way, who talk like they know everything and they saw everything, they've done everything, they know every situation before it happens. And I'll tell you, I know these guys and they don't. Okay, there is nobody who knows everything. And anybody talks like that, I stop listening to them because I my own experience tells me better. It's very dangerous because I think inside of humans we want somebody like that who knows everything. Like the wise man can answer every question, but it's dangerous. It's not true. So everybody's saying now, like, okay, she she was the ultimate body count girl, right? Whatever word you want to use. She really was not only one of the higher body counts in the world, but high profile, bragging about it, public videos. She made a video like, what does my body count matter or something like that.
Yeah.
Like so, but even that said, and everybody will say that, girls lose their ability to bond when they have a high body count. There is truth to that, definitely. But I think what it's not noticing or what it's ignoring is that marriage is almost all end in failure. So the idea that, this one guy is an idiot and this thing is terrible. I mean, over 50% of marriages end in failure.
Mm.
And 90% of college educated females file for divorce.
Really?
Yeah. It's
Wow.
80%, it's 80% for the average population, and it's 90% for college educated because they know what they
Wow.
can get. They know the
Right.
cash and prizes. They understand. They're not afraid of the legal system. I would
Right.
assume, right? They
Yeah.
understand what's going on. So
And,
the concept that, what the reason why I don't like the way they present it, and I'm sure you guys have seen these videos, but reject information that's not accurate. Like, look, I know what they're saying, but they don't. How high? I mean, I don't know how high the body count these guys really are, but I think one, there's no data on women's body count. You're never going to read an accurate number. You're always guessing. And for guys too, it's never there's anything about sex is not scientific. Because nobody will tell the truth. Same with diets. Nobody's going to tell the truth. Doctors ask them, what do they eat? They say, oh, I have a little bit of chocolate. I have a couple beers. That's the way people talk. So it makes it very difficult for scientists to study this stuff. Sex is really like that because of the, obviously, implications, social implications, and everything, right? So I would even question if you really know about anybody's body count much at all, for one thing. And the other thing is too is marriage is generally ending failure, right? And so you're splitting hairs when you're talking about this. And the other thing is too is just because that it could be, I think it probably is statistically accurate that girls with a higher body count have a higher divorce rate. I think it's true, but that doesn't mean 100% and zero. So,
Right.
I personally know girls, in my life that have very high body counts that ended up being great wives. I swear to God, I know them. I really am blown away. But in fact, it was like a shock. Yeah, even now I think about it. I think what they looked like when they were young and how they look now is just amazing to me. Somehow they made the transition. So even though it might be true, and again, you got to question this stuff, that a higher body count definitely means it probably is true. Okay, but it's not 100%. So just when you're at some time in your life, you got to reevaluate everything, right? Stop thinking that it's so clear. You know, I know girls. I'll tell you one particular girl. She has a high body count, and I slept with her, and this girl. Let's put it this way: this girl slept with so many guys. Okay, I'm serious. Get this, dude. I'm not shitting you. I am not shitting you. This girl slept with so many guys when she was young that, and I met her when she was young, and so anyway, I said like, ditch the guys if you want to be with me, and she actually did. She actually did ditch the guys, and she went totally straight, and we were kind of semi together. I mean, we did a lot of stuff. We did threesomes with other girls, all kinds of stuff. But and I had other girlfriends, but she stuck with me. That girl stuck with me until she realized I wouldn't marry her, and then she found another guy and married him. But I was amazed how she could change, but she had such a high body count. At one time, I was selling something on Tokyo Classified. It was like Craigslist, and so I put it in. I put an ad in, and the guy came to buy it, and he had fucked her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's how high her body count was, and I just thought, whoa. But anyway, she was a good girl to me, and she had totally turned her ways. So the narrative I'm going to tell you that also exists, just so you need to know every aspect, and then you'll make a good judgment in life, right? Is that one of the most dangerous things is a girl with a super low body count, in my experience. The reason why is because they don't know what they're missing. So once they get a taste of it, they can be the worst. Those real good girls, and
Yeah.
then they suddenly get a taste of it, and then they're just gone off the rails. You know, the thing is, a girl who's really seen a lot, same as a guy who used to be in a gang, or a guy who used to drink, or a guy who used to smoke. He's already smoked before, and he quit smoking. So the guy really is not much of a danger for smoking. You know, even though he
Yeah.
smoked a million cigarettes in the past. So you got to look. You got to think about it. These good girls can be the most dangerous. They can
Right.
really break your heart.
Sure. I think a good analogy maybe is also like someone that hasn't tried drugs until they're like later in life,
Oh,
like a
totally,
certain drug.
totally. That happens. That really happens with exchange students. From countries where drugs are not legal.
Right.
They come to the States and they think, oh, I'll try this. Like everybody tries it, and then next thing you know, boom. They're like,
On the
crack cocaine, right?
horse. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. very dangerous. And same with, same with somebody who, lives in a family where they have a very good diet. They go away to college, and now all of a sudden, for the first time, they're choosing their own food. A lot of those people just balloon out so fast because
Yeah,
they've never really had to struggle with it, right?
right. Yeah, I've
So
seen that.
a girl with a high body count, although I don't think that's a plus, but at the same time, I look very carefully at that person because some of them actually are pretty cool.
Right. And it could be like I feel this way also, having, they could feel been there, done that. As much as I know guys hate to hear like, oh, some kind of thing like, well, I'm taking the woman's side or something like that. Look,
No, no,
I'm
you're
in
not.
my
No, 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 no. This is
right,
no, this is not taken. This is just bringing in a narrative that a lot of guys either haven't heard, haven't experienced, but you need to know about it. And it makes sense when you
right,
think about any other, substance or, you know,
right. Because
temptation.
I'm in my 30s now, and I had a string of luck with women in my, mid 20s, but that for me took a lot of effort. It took, I feel like, a lot of effort from me, more than probably a lot of more than those whatever Chads or Tyrones or whatever. I would have to manage between texting girls and setting up dates and going on this and that. And I'm like, now, 6, 7 years later, I'm like, I do not want to deal with that anymore. And there's no reason a woman can't feel the same way. She went through that in her younger age, and she's like, it was cool back then, I guess, but like, I do not want to do that anymore. I want to be home, because that was the lifestyle. You go out at 11 p.m. and you stay out till 4 a.m. and you try to score and you're drinking and this and that. Now I want to be home at 10. I want to be in my bed by 10. And I'm sure there's plenty of women that are sympathetic to that feeling because we get older.
Right. And your perspective changes. And once
Right.
you've kind of seen everything in a certain area, I mean, I'm the same way with picking up girls. I mean, I can go pick up girls. I'm on a campus right now and I get smiles all the time. And I could definitely bone down on some of these girls. But I just don't care. It's not really something I'm really, you know what I mean? It just doesn't fire me up
Mm,
right now. So,
mm,
you know, it's too easy to say that. You got to look at it with a more wise eye. It's not a good sign. Okay. It's not a good sign because it's often poor decisions. You know what I mean? And, but a lot of people make poor decisions too. So you got to be careful about, your judge and juror of everybody. But I think for me, here's the thing for me is if somebody is very open and honest with me, and I can see why like if their story makes sense, and if they're open and honest, the most dangerous, I would have to say, the most troublesome type of girl with a bad background is the type who hasn't yet dealt with it, and they have very dark secrets. So maybe they went over the line and they got into sex work, or they have like almost like a second life, like a double, a split personality or a double life. And one life is in absolute contrast to the life that she presents to you. And there's no there's no they can't even go close to the truth, because if they go close to the truth, they're gonna like they it's like the witch is just gonna melt or something. You know what I mean? Because
mm.
they're just gonna lie straight up about everything, and they have
Yeah.
not done any introspection. And what's so dangerous about those ones is they enjoy fooling you. And also, a lot of women who have done, I don't know about girls on the CC, the carousel so much, but definitely girls who were strippers and stuff. A lot of them just straight up hate men, and
Mm,
their job, the job they chose, made them into that.
right.
And same in Japan. Like in Japan, there's a thing called a hostess, and the
Right.
hostess bars, they're very similar to the bottle girls in Vegas. And for some reason, in my experience, and I have a lot of experience with different kinds of girls, I will say that the most bitter ones, and the ones who, and again, the secret that you really don't want to, the secret that you want to know, the most dangerous secret, okay, with a girl with a lot of experience, is does she hate men? And she will not tell you that. If she hates men, you got to get out of there because there's
Right.
no fixing broken. Like there is no, it is impossible. You just have to get out of it. They're not asking for help. They don't want help. They put themselves in a situation. They don't see their own, part in it. And the done, what's done is done, and there ain't no fixing it. And also, they have deep shame about it, so they're going to be very dishonest about it. And
Yeah.
the reasons why you want to run from somebody like this is because they tend to take all of their anger out on you. And it's almost like they, in my experience, have been almost the nicer you are, the more you love them, the more they want to hurt you.
Yeah.
And it's this feeling that life has wronged them. And maybe they feel like, where were you when I needed you, when I was, a tender age or whatever. I don't
Right.
know exactly what it is, but it's essentially it's an unworkable situation. So those are the things you really have to watch out for.
Yeah.
Those are the things that are really dangerous.
Well, now there's, well, this kind of groupie girl um has existed before, but now it's a lot, it's kind of an industry. I don't know whether or not you'd be surprised with like the amount of detail girls go into sharing this information with each other about how to, sleep with NBA stars and to sleep with rappers and
No.
professional athletes.
I actually saw the video you're talking about. I know very well, and I actually know a girl, a woman, who is an old school groupie, and she slept with all the great music stars. She was a DJ at KLOS in Los Angeles, and I know her personally, and she actually, yeah, she's, yeah, long story, but she had been with, she was just like the girls of today, but back in the old days, on the groupie buses, naked, the gangbangs, the naked on the airplanes with the famous guys in the 60s and 70s, especially in the 70s, this one. And, and she told me like she doesn't regret one single minute of it, you know.
Hmm.
So there's been this type of girl, and then the girl that was with PJ was this type. She's a groupie. She's not like a really famous person. She's more like
Right.
she's a groupie. She targets guys in certain sports, and she really, I guess her theory is probably these type of girls. There's two types. The one that I know, that the old school one, she just wanted to have fun,
You
and
just
she
want
wanted to.
party, correct?
What's that?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. The two types: the one that wants to just have experiences versus the one that wants to get the bag. You'll say.
No, they all want something more than just fun. The one that I'm talking about, she got a job as a DJ at one of the biggest radio stations in LA because she could interview all these guys because she knew them all. She had slept with
Right.
them. So for her, she could just call them on the phone or call their press agent or whatever and get an interview. And then she was well liked by these guys too. So, she had a lot of pictures with them, like playful, fun pictures. And she wrote a book
Mm.
actually, which I bought and read. And so I think the thing is that she
Well,
wanted something and she got a job. So she got like and this is what in the 60s, what it was in 70s, it was about getting into the music industry. So she got a DJ job, which gave her a lot of opportunities to do what she wanted to do. So, but she was definitely honest because she used, and that's why she's still well liked today, right? You know, is because it was fair, right? She was a good person to be a DJ. I mean, fuck, she knew everybody. she knew the shape of the ball sack.
Yeah.
She had intimate knowledge of these guys, and
Right.
a friendly manner, and so easy to get interviews and easy to get them on the uh, on the air, right?
Hmm.
So she could do her job. So everybody has some goal, she probably started out just having fun. She probably just wanted to get backstage, uh, you know,
Yeah.
like the classic scene in The Wall, Pink Floyd. The one of the classic scenes of the '70s really is The Wall when the groupies want to meet the guys and they blow the security guard to get backstage. Every guy should see that scene because it just tells you the story of the times. And so now we have a modern version, right?
Well, it involves Instagram. Let me just say real quick for people listening, in case it used to be like these girls would go to, let's say, the Heat were playing the Knicks, right? So the Heat are in town in New York. These girls would go to the hotels where the teams are playing and dress really nice and just wait in the lobby and wait for some of the guys to come down and see you. And now Instagram's kind of made it a little more tech savvy, but there's like a whole culture. It's a whole culture that I'm not in it, but I've read some about it. There's like rules to how you engage, rules to how you approach. You slide into the DMs and you're expected this, and that.
Well, but that's
Sometimes
what I'm
money
saying.
is
Like
exchanged.
it's the same for the girl I knew, except for she did it differently in the old days. But there was these rules that she told me, very exactly like the girls today. So there's always been this kind of groupie knowledge about how to
Right.
get in with these top guys. You know.
Yeah. Now I had interrupted. You said what you were saying. There were two kinds, right? So it's where.
Oh well, the other one is the type that we're talking about here. PJ's. What it sounds like is it sounds like, from what I gather. I mean, that's the only thing I can gather is that she was just a mercenary and she wanted a baby with an NBA star is the only thing I can assume. Uh, you know, More is going to come out of this story, but that's what it looks like now. And so she wants a baby with an NBA star. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Officer and a Gentleman. Did you ever see
mm,
that?
Richard Greer, right? I think I
Yeah,
saw like a long time ago.
yeah,
So
that was a classic, and it was like it's a story. This girl's in this like do nothing town, nothing going on. And in those days, people in small towns didn't have much opportunity. So girls would get pregnant accidentally by Navy guys guys with jobs, in order to leave the town and travel and have
right.
money, right? So there's
I've
always
heard that
been girls,
story. I've heard that story in real life quite a few times actually. So
right, right, right. So there's always been a portion of women that will use pregnancy as a way to get out of where they're at. And again, I would break it down into the person, right? Like a lot of people want to get out of where they are, you know,
yeah.
like there's a lot of small town girls that want to get out of small towns, you know.
Well, let me just say I believe this girl had several hundred thousand Instagram followers prior to getting married to him. So I don't know how much of a career that for her, but I have to imagine making some money off of Instagram, right? But I think
I,
that's the same thing that got her the attention to where she was sleeping with uh NBA stars.
right, right. She had some money. I mean, she had money, but she wanted NBA money, right?
Right.
She wanted NBA money. And so one of the strategies, there's different mating strategies for females. One of the strategies that everybody talks about is to be very careful with your eggs and, be careful with your reputation. But there's actually an exact opposite strategy. And that's what hers was. Hers was basically have such a high body count and get banged and get so many cream pies. And yeah, that eventually there's going to be a
One will say.
mistake and she's going
Right.
to get pregnant.
Right.
And then, you nail that guy. That's
Right.
another strategy. That's another, because of the courts, that's opened up that strategy. In the old days,
Right.
that one wouldn't really work, you know.
Right. That's, bastards or whatever back then, especially before DNA testing, whatever.
Well, it would
Right.
work if the guy was the mayor or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
If the guy was a mayor, the guy was really famous, then he would pay off the woman just so he didn't have any, PR problems, But besides that, it didn't work because most guys would just be like walk away, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, that sounds like, from what I hear, that sounds like their strategy. And she's like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna ride every single salami I can. I'm gonna take it deep, and she loved it. And I'm gonna have fun until the day when the strip turns up pink, right? And
Yeah. Well, a couple things. One is that she married him, right? But the other thing was that she's 7 years older than him, right? So that's why there's people saying that she groomed him, whatever. But if you think about it, okay, we'll say when they got married, he was like 20 and she was 27,
yeah,
right?
I
So
don't buy that thing. Grooming, nah. You can date
yeah,
people younger than you. It's fine.
but also there is something, if she's being a sneaky snake or whatever, if it was something she had been plotting, it was a plot she had been able to refine over many iterations, right? Because if this isn't her first NBA star, so she was working out the kinks in her plan, right? How to make it work, right?
Oh, no doubt,
So
no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
it would, it's hard to take her side because it could be like, oh well, maybe they really were in love. I'm just saying this in a corny way, but her YouTube videos of her saying like get that bag kind of makes it hard to defend her, right? So
Well, that she's like the guy. There was a guy who was arrested, uh, for something, which I don't want to say the word on YouTube because it seems like they're really weird with words these days. But anyway, he had MURD
yeah,
tattooed on his face,
yeah.
and then that was what he was arrested for.
Right. Yeah,
He wasn't like the brightest candle, sharpest knife
yeah,
in the cabinet, right? So
yeah,
she did videos like that where she basically said what she was going to do and then she did it, right? So
right. But it's
yeah.
not a crime, so it's just kind of looked down. But here's the thing, it's looked down upon kind of by men, right? It's not looked down upon by society at large, not really. I think there's like a lot of women that look at what she did and they're just either jealous or like, yes, Queen Slay,
Oh, she's a
like,
hero to many people,
right,
right now.
correct.
Straight up hero. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Like she did it, she got off with it, so
Yeah, yeah, she won, and that's the thing, is I think it's everybody's trying to win, right? People that are jewelry thieves are trying to win. People that buy jewelry to look better so they get prestige or sex or whatever they're trying to get, they're trying to win. Like everybody's trying to win in their own way. You know, she there can be no question that she won. You know,
yeah,
and
correct.
that's the painful thing for him. And I think the thing that really sucks about this, like the NBA is well aware that there's a serious problem with groupies. Like there is a serious problem with guys getting trapped, and they give
Right.
training to the guys. Don't throw your condom in the toilet. Always flush it down,
Yeah.
down the toilet. Don't put it in the garbage can because people are getting the turkey baster and getting it right up there. And I told a friend of mine about this, and one of my actually a girl who I know very well, who actually I kind of like her. She's quite fun. I mean, I shouldn't say I kind of like her. I like her a lot as a friend. And we never boned, although we got naked. And she looked at me. She goes, "Do you really want to do this?" And I was like, "I don't think we should."
Yeah.
But anyway, she's a good friend. She watches the show, and I told her that story, and she told me right away, like one of our mutual acquaintances had done that, and to one of my friends had tried to get
Yeah.
pregnant with turkey bait, and I was like, "No way!" And she was like, "Oh yeah,"
Yeah.
and I was like, "Wow." Because this guy had a great job. He was you know what I mean? So very
Yeah.
tempting, right? Very tempting.
And
So
I,
It's
Yeah.
common.
I've also been in the position where, someone's telling me, hey, don't put your D in that. you know, don't do that thing. And they're, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure? Because it looks really stupid and you're going to look really stupid because it's going to work out exactly how we tell you. I'm like, I'm going to do this. And then, of course, I come back like, I was really dumb. I should have listened to you, right? So that's happened to me. And I can only imagine if I was, 18, 19, 20 years old with hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, like it's going to be hard for me to listen to anyone, right? So,
I think that when you have real high testosterone and you're young, I just think it's hopeless. Like there's certain things in life I just accept. You know what I mean? I remember when I was younger and I was in Sweden and I was at this I went to a what they called a disco and like to dance. Where was I? I was in I think it was in Skellefteå in the north. And anyway, we went there and I was having a pretty good time and this girl was pretty damn hot, right? And so she came on to me and we started grinding and stuff. And I asked her because I was staying with this other girl, so couldn't take her back there. So I said, "You have a place?" She goes, "My parents have a summer house." So we went over there. And then when I took her clothes off, she's like, "I tell you something." She said, I have herpes." And she goes, "And I'm having a breakout." And the thing is, this girl was really hot, right? Like she was like, like a hot Swedish girl. Like imagine, those like blue eyes just staring at you with the perfect face, tiny little face, titties just right there in your like super hot. This girl was young and hot and perfect. And I looked at her and I just said, I don't even give a fuck. And I fucked the shit out of her without a condom.
yeah, raw
And
dog.
somehow, I don't even know to this day how I didn't get herpes, but I didn't get them. And I was stressed for like 6 months after that. But
Yeah.
the fact that I didn't care, that I was just like, I
Yeah,
was,
in the moment, when you smell it, man, gosh.
oh, dude, and the fact that I didn't care drove her insane. Like, it was like, because she was like telling me, she was straight up honest. She's like, we can't do it right now. You don't know, and I was just like, I was like, you're so fucking hot. Like, I am gonna fucking destroy you. She's like, destroy me. And I was just like, and we just went down in the flames of nuclear fusion, right?
Yeah,
And it
you
was
went.
because we were both doing what we knew was kind of insane, right? But that's testosterone and estrogen, right? Sometimes it's just hopeless. So that's why I don't lecture people because I know, that was me,
Right. Yeah. It's
and
easy. It's easy for me to forget those situations I've been in, but yeah, I've been there.
exactly that's the whole point. That's what I'm saying. Like when you talk about this stuff, you got to be honest with yourself too, right? It's like, man, what kind of control did I have? Like please, So
Yeah.
this girl, obviously, she knew a few tricks, and they worked right with a lot of different guys, and they worked with him, and he took a chance, and I think everybody's an armchair quarterback, but but there's different parts of the story, right? There's the middle, the beginning, the middle, the end, and then there's after. I think at some
Yeah.
point, you got to look at it with wisdom of hindsight and say, this was a trap, right? You know what I mean? Like it wasn't, this was, I think using babies to get money and to humiliate a guy publicly, that's evil, you know, that's,
Yeah. And I
that's evil.
mean,
It's like, a guy who, posts pictures of his girlfriend naked to her family, like that's not good. You shouldn't do that,
yeah.
like there's things that there's just lines you shouldn't cross, and what the he all the signs point to this guy being exactly what everybody says there's not enough of. Like a straight up guy. Here he is. He's alpha in many ways. He's NBA. He's moving his way up big time, right?
Yeah. He's still young.
Yeah, he's having 20-point games like crazy, right? He's playing well, and And he's not that tall, but he plays center sometimes, right?
Well, he's 6'7", so he's not
Yeah,
tall for a center, but for normal, for average guys, he's quite tall.
that's not tall for a center. And so, so he's out there, the guy's talented. He's got it physically, he's got it money wise, because everybody talks about alpha, they're always talking about Tyrone and Chad, they're always talking about six figures, tall. I mean, what does this guy not have? But if you listen to every broadcast about this guy, everybody is calling this guy son. Like everybody's calling him that. And I just I don't like that. I don't. I think the reason why guys love to call guys simps is because we all know that we could get caught at some level.
Right.
We all know that we're weak at some level. And so it's easy to want to point the finger. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
but if this would have worked out, he would have been just another guy, right? With an
Right. It wouldn't
experienced
be a
girl.
story at all, right? We wouldn't be right.
No, no, it would be just fine. She'd be a born again virgin and going to church and everything like you've seen so many times, and like I say,
Right.
sometimes it does work out, so
Yeah. Yeah.
I
For a
would.
lot of these basketball wives, I mean, for a lot of the basketball wives, that's how it goes. It's just that this girl was so quick to be like, I had the baby, I'm out. you know,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, the
uh,
thing secured, bag secured, I'm out of here.
this could, I sure hope not, but this could ruin his career,
Yeah.
because sports is mental, right? And
Right.
everybody calling him, you know basically
Yes.
people are calling him like the weakest guy in the world, right? you know
Yeah.
and we don't know this guy. We don't know this PJ Washington guy. Like, maybe this guy, if he was on the podcast right now, if anybody knows him, bring him on. Like, maybe this guy's actually pretty cool, and maybe he has a reason for why he did what he did. Right? He's in the center of
Yeah.
this thing. But we don't know that, and maybe not. So withhold
Yeah.
judgment at the very least, and be easy on your brothers, man. We're all in this. We're all illogical.
Yeah.
When it comes to sex and women. You know, and making mistakes like crazy. You know.
Yeah. I just want to reiterate like what you said. I think a reason why a lot of guys take it personally. Well, there were a lot of red flags, right? Or if you just watched her YouTube channel, you'd be like, oh, well. But I think, like you said, so many of us, it could have pretty easily, I guess, been us, right?
Well, no, it could have turned.
We
No, what I'm saying is it could have turned into a successful marriage.
yeah, that's true. But also, I just want to point out that there's vulnerability that not the exact same situation, but I've done lots of things that I'd be so embarrassed to admit I've done. This just happens to be very public.
Right. Right. And if she didn't have those videos, and then this is the other thing I'll add is that she has these videos bragging about it. And so this is why everybody calls this guy that word, right?
Right. Correct.
But what here's the thing. Here's the real deal. Here's the real deal, game. Is these channels, everybody's saying this guy is that in the same sense that guys will say to me, they'll say, yeah, until I finally spelled it out to guys in one of the recent podcasts. I said I've had sex with many married girls, right? Well, the thing is, married girls don't usually tell you they're married until after you fucking blow your wad on their face, right? You know what I mean? That's when they tell you they're married. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
Right. Right. Right.
so the idea that you have perfect knowledge when you meet this girl and you're taking your clothes off and she's giving you a BJ, like, I just think it's so easy to assume you knew everything. You had the data print out of her background and her motives and her background, and you had seen all the videos. For all I know, the guy never even saw the video.
Right. And no one told him anything, right? Could be. Sure.
Well, probably people told him, but here's what I've seen guys do, and girls too. I've seen girls do this, where the guy has something or the girl has something that is kind of incriminating, but if they're in love, they'll say, "Look, I don't even want to see them. Like, I don't even want to watch the videos because I know everybody's telling me this, but I believe in her. and I don't want to see this. And, of course, it often turns out that was the very thing he should have looked at, right? But for all we know, he didn't even see the videos, you
Right.
know. So that would be another kind of twist to the story if he actually didn't see the videos, which is possible actually. It's
Right.
very possible, you know. So
So yeah. What do you think a
oh,
takeaway?
let me finish the
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. When you judge these guys, when you're watching some story and you judge it, you often don't know what he knew, right? And you think you know. Like, I guess, how do I put this into words? You don't even know your own history. Okay. Like, I'll tell you this, girls are honest with me. And that's, part of the way I slept with so many women is because girls feel comfortable around me, actually. And they tell me stuff. They tell me stories. They'll tell me the truth about this and truth about that. And I'm like, why'd you even tell me that? Like, I didn't even really want to know that. Like a secret or something. You're right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it's just like you could have, it's like, I don't even like secrets because then I got to keep them. But the thing is that the assumption most guys have is that they know their own girls' backgrounds. And I will say you probably don't.
Right.
You probably have no idea of your wife or your girlfriend's background and what she did. She probably, screwed your best friend, gave your brother a BJ, did all kinds of stuff you don't know about. And you only find that stuff out if people really trust you, you know, and they'll come back and say, hey, I actually, when you were dating that girl in high school, I fucked her one night. You know what I mean? Like that's something that you're only going to hear if you're the type of person that people will tell stuff to, right? But most guys are not like that. Most guys, they don't even know. Not only do they not know the history of their girlfriends, they have no idea what the girl did when they were with them. And that's why they see so many of their ex-girlfriends in such a nice light because they don't know. You know, there was a guy recently, his wife died in a car crash. And so he wanted to get pictures off her phone, to, put at the funeral and pictures of them. Right? And so he guessed her password and then opened it up. And it turns out she was having an affair. And she was actually coming home from the guy who she was having an affair with house when she
Wow.
died.
Wow.
And
Hardcore.
yeah, and it was like graphic too. And
Yeah.
so and there was like text from that day. You know what I mean? I can't wait
Yeah.
to do this with you tonight. So the guy was dealing with the death of his wife, and he also was dealing with a sudden red pill of who his wife was. You
Right.
know, so I guess what I'm saying is not just armchair quarterback, but one of the most difficult, one of the real red pills. The real a guy's not red pilled if he doesn't know his girlfriend's history. Because the truth is, most guys not only do they not know, but they don't want to know. They don't want to
Yeah.
know. If I was going to tell them, and interview their girlfriends and say, hey, here's what she did. She actually did this. She fantasizes about this kind of guy. She made out with this guy. She gave a BJ to this guy. She has this many guys she's texting with. Most guys, they don't want to hear that because it's inconvenient, right? At the
Yeah.
same time, is they will judge a guy like PJ so harshly and not every other married guy. Because PJ's wife, maybe she was more open and maybe she had a higher body count. But I don't see that big a difference between her and the average girl in her 20s these days.
Yeah.
That girl's attitude is pretty normal these days.
Right. Totally. 100%.
And so the thing is that guys think they're red pill and they actually can't even face the basics of reality while they judge harshly. And that right there is a combination of bad things. So I'd say you you probably don't want to know, but it's good for you to know the truth about what your ex-girlfriends did when you were with them, right? If you can ever figure it out. You know,
You
I
you think you think it's a good place to just like have an assumption of like, you're going out with a girl and it's just like, I'm just going to assume you had a train run on you by the football team, right? Just work off of that as opposed to thinking, well, she's perfect. So I'm going to work off base. She's Snow White. And, maybe she slept with one guy before me, but that's it. Once she's been with me, she'll never be with another, she can never think of another man. Is it
I
better to just approach her like, what? She's probably banged 40 dudes, midgets, giants, homeless men behind a dumpster, everything, and just go from there.
no, because I don't think that most guys can seriously believe that, right? So part of the thing is not wanting to know. The other one is not being able to believe it. You know, it wasn't until that guy saw the pictures of his wife and that guy after she died that he finally understood what happened. Even if it would have just been text, he probably might not have believed it. He might have thought, "Oh, she wouldn't do that. She backed out at the last minute." You know, it wasn't until she got photos. You know, so to me, I think photos are the best. If you can somehow get a photo, you know, of what she was up to in the past, that is a good way to red pill yourself. You know,
Yeah, just there was a girl was talking to, and then I had seen a video of her blowing another dude, and like at first I was like, I don't really want to see this, and I watched it just to see like how it would make me feel. And it's just like, oh, I don't really care. It's just like I didn't know how I was gonna feel, but I kind of expected I would feel this negative way.
was
And then
this a
once I
was this
saw
a monogamous girl or who was this?
just a girl I was talking with, so I think it maybe made me not want to pursue seeing her once I had seen the video though.
Right, that's what I'm
Um,
saying. Like it has a gut reaction. You know, when you see a video or a picture, I think that's kind of the only way that you can really grasp what your girlfriend is doing or wife.
hmm,
You know, that's, you know, so if you can somehow get a picture either from another friend that's doing it, you know, that you will share with you or did it when you were in high school, like decades ago or whatever, you know.
well, so let me ask you then, like, let's say I know you were doing your thing prior to modern technology, but did you ever bone any chicks that you had seen like getting boned by other guys first, and then like either on video or like did you see and then you were still able to like get it up for them or
I had one that was a really extremely hot one. It was the hot sex one. And then I went to her house and she showed me a picture book. It was a soft core porn book,
uh,
and I could hardly get it up with her the second time, and it was super depressing. And I never saw her again.
why do you think that is? Why do you think that is as far as
I
because it
don't
seems to be a
know.
pretty common thing, right?
I don't know, but it really turned me off. Like I just, and I'm talking. It was hot the first time. When I say hot, the details would kind of be surprising. It was really hot, and
Yeah.
but I had nothing when I saw that book. Like nothing.
Yeah.
Maybe because it was such a surprise, you know. Because I knew that she had done softcore, she had done hardcore. You know, I knew that. You know, because
Mm,
I had slept with girls that I found out later had done stuff. You know, so when you sleep with a lot of women, you've slept with every type, right? So
right.
even though you didn't know it, right? You
Right.
know, but I was I don't know what it was. It just took the wind out of my sails totally. You know, and
Yeah.
I think I think that's I think what it was for me was I could see that there was a lot there that she wasn't telling me. It wasn't the softcore porn book. It was the
Mm,
knowledge that there was a lot more. Is that this
mm,
was just the beginning. You know what I mean?
okay.
Like,
Yeah.
it was, and I think it was true. I think my instinct was right with this one. This girl was
Yeah.
exploited. She had a apartment in an expensive part of town, and
Mm,
she was probably a full-on adult actress,
right.
you know,
Right.
a well-paid, well-known adult actress, because that first time was so hot. Like, she definitely knew what she was doing. And yeah, yeah. And so I think that you got to go with your feelings, but the only way when you're when you're really seeing the truth, you can't have any caveats. Like, I want to see the truth, but I also want to bone her just as hard as before. You can't have a caveat like that, because you don't know how you're going to feel about her afterwards, right? You might
Right.
you might be totally turned off by her after that, and really,
Right.
unless
Right.
you're taking a bunch of blue pills, you can't fake that, you know. And of course, it
Yeah.
was depressing, and for me, especially considering how hot the first time was, and then for the second time, I mean, I performed with her. We finished, but it was almost worse that I finished because it was so bad.
Right.
It
Yeah.
was like it would
Yeah. You
almost been
force
better
it to end. Yeah. Yeah.
if I just walked out. It would have been better. And she would be like, "Oh, this hot guy, I wish he would do it with me." Maybe I could have gone out, reevaluated, and come back in a couple days later and gave her the bone. You know what I mean? But in that
Yeah.
moment, and then I was kind of embarrassed, that I had put on such a show the first time, and then to the second time to be so weak that it was like
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, I couldn't understand my own emotions. But my emotions were real strong, I gotta say. See, that's the thing.
Right.
That's why girls lie to guys about sex, is because we have it's the picture that you can't unsee, and nobody can predict how you're gonna respond to it. Guys'
Right.
sexual desire is very complicated. I've heard from many people that guys that watch their women give birth, there's a percentage, I don't know what percentage it is, of guys that can never have sex with her again. They just can't do it again.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
it's like one of these visceral things, I guess. So, you got to be able guys want to have it both ways. They want to be honest, they want the truth, and then they think they can kind of be stronger than it, but it might really hurt, you know. And
Right.
it might make you very unhappy.
Well,
And
the
and,
reason.
and it might even ruin, like, I mean, just theoretically, to take it to the extreme, but it's theoretically possible that
Yeah.
there were couples in the past that lived till a ripe old age happily and had great relationships, and probably maybe even most of them, that if they knew the truth about what their partner had done, they would have been disgusted with them and it would have ended. So there
I.
could be an argument that the girl's doing, or the guy or whoever is doing, a favor to the relationship, because maybe if you knew more, monogamy
Yeah.
might not even work. And I say bring it on. Let's if that's the case, then let's live with the consequences, right?
So a lot of the older gentlemen in my family had mistresses, and I think just
They,
culturally,
they were down in
they
Puerto Rico, right?
yeah, and in New York. So,
Okay.
um, but yeah, Puerto Rican being I think it's very similar to Italian, and it's yeah. So, um, it was just kind of understood, I guess, and you just don't. It's never brought up, but the wife is still the wife, and the wife's the one that raised. Like, I can't imagine these people were still being intimate together, but I'll just say, like, my grandparents, right? I can't imagine my grandfather was still sleeping with my grandmother, but he was still going out to see, like, younger women, right? Like, he had side women, right? But it was just kind of like my grandmother was still his wife, right? So that was like the most important woman to him. It was just like not about sex, right? That relationship was not. I don't know. Maybe it was. I don't want to think about it, but I don't think it was, right?
It probably was. It probably was sex, actually. There
Okay.
probably was
So
sex. Yeah, that's the thing. Is like we don't know that much about people's intimate lives,
right.
and we assume a lot of our information. I'm guessing they still were. They had their own form of whatever it was, some kind of
Right.
intimacy, probably,
Right. Yeah. So the reason I'm asking about that this is because I'm still interested in dating, and I'm sure some other guys listening are still interested in dating, but with modern women, it seems like it's only a matter of time before like the dirt comes up, right? Or skeletons come out, just because the nature of social media and women being on Instagram and pictures being on Snapchat or whatever and things going around. It just seems like an inevitability. Any girl that I go out with, if I go out with her long enough, something that I will perceive to be fucked up is going to come out of the woodwork. Or maybe I won't perceive it to be fucked up, but there's going to be something that comes out that's like, face
Well,
palm.
this brings it back to what I was saying in the very beginning, is that you need to be able to be wise and discern, you know, and that's what I'm not getting on most channels is I'm getting black and white, which doesn't help guys make real decisions in their lives, right? Is that you can have black and white as long as you don't have the balls to face the truth, right? Because then you can go black and white because you can say, well, my wife never cheated, so I'll stay with her, right? But once you get in there and find out the truth, then what do? Where do you go with that? So you can't go anywhere with that. So you end up choosing the life of not wanting to know the truth about your lovers, right? So I would say that you want to accept the truth, and you need wise friends, who can help you to guide you through the situation, and make a wise decision about what you're going to do, because it's more common than people think. There's a lot of PJ Washingtons out there who don't even know they're PJ Washington, right? You know,
Yeah,
and
well, especially because, it just has a big price tag attached to it. So that's what a lot of it has to do. If he was just some regular guy, it wouldn't be, we
well, the
wouldn't be
main thing
talking
with
about it.
her calling herself out in those videos, if those weren't there, then nobody would have the balls to really question what's going on.
No.
It came from the horse's mouth, so we know it's true, right? But that's the difference in this case. It's kind of like a video. It's like the guy who found the pictures of his wife, right? That is what's different. Is there's no way to lie to yourself on this one. That's why it's so easy to be so black and white. And maybe the black and white decision is correct. You know what I mean? You got to make a decision. And as a man, men are decisive. At the end of the day, you got to make a decision. But I guess what I'm saying is that let in as much information as you can, because most guys make decisions, but they're not decisions because they're not using the variables. They haven't even seen them. You know, like I know girls. You got to be the kind of person that people talk to and feel comfortable with. Like I can't even tell you how many times this has happened to me. So many times, Gabe. I'll be hanging out with somebody and his wife, right? And it's really clear when it's a language I speak and he doesn't. So say Chinese or Japanese, and the wife will know that he doesn't speak the language, right? And once she realizes I'm like non-judgmental and cool, she'll tell me stuff that I know she's never told him. And this is a woman I've only known for 2 days. This is like I come over for a weekend, and the girl will just feel comfortable, and she knows I'm not going to tell him, and I don't, because she trusted me with that information, right? But I'm just like, man, you know, how many of these guys don't even know their own wives?
Yeah.
They're just living in a dreamland. like sometimes you got girls that are pretty cool that wouldn't mind sharing it, but they know the guy just can't handle it, right? He can't
Right.
he can't put it into perspective, right? I think motivation is a big thing. Like motivation, like why is she doing it and what is she really thinking? What is her motivation? You know, of course, I want to know the details, and I want to get into those details with some very hardcore, Ronin type questions, that could destroy her. You know what I mean? But once I've got through that, I'm looking for where is she at now? Is she an ex-smoker? Is she, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Not is she gonna? I never believe anybody says they're gonna quit smoking today. I'm not talking about stuff like that. Like I'll never do it again. Forget that. Don't even anybody says that. Don't even listen to them. But the people that you do listen to is somebody who says, "Hey, I smoked for 30 years, and I quit 15 years ago." And then you say, "Well, how'd you quit?" Well, I used the patch. And did you start again? They'll tell you their story, right? That's a person that I'll trust because the story makes sense. Right? And I can notice they're not smoking. I can see it, right? I can smell their clothes, right? I can use my judgment, right? Because bad
Yeah.
judgment just leads to more bad situations, you know. So you want to improve your judgment, which is going to be based on, especially when it comes to women, being the kind of guy that people tell stuff to. It's almost like you're part of the detective when you're, if you're at all getting think about getting serious with a girl, you got to be part detective. And, and
Yeah.
and and
It's
also you can be got, you can be tricked. So that's the hard part.
yeah.
The hard part is
Having good
knowing
judgment,
you could
having
be
good
right a
judgment
hundred
with
times,
women.
then wrong once, right? That really hurts.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Especially, it's very common, obviously, with guys that, PJ Washington has options, but for guys that don't have options and then they get one option, it's really, really easy to have bad judgment, right? You're like, oh, girl, don't do it. Well,
Well, that was the
so,
whole thing with the PUA movement. The whole PUA movement was like, and this is what a lot of guys don't understand that they should understand, because the PUA movement was kind of the beginning of, I shouldn't say the PUA movement. Let's just say the PUA guys, PUA in general, was the beginning of guys saying, I'm not going to accept the scraps that life gives to me. I'm going to shoot above my family's caliber, above my. I want more out of life. I'm going for it, right? I want the same.
yeah,
I want options, and so if you don't have options, it's tough, Gabe. It's tough to be honest with this stuff. Even if you're a pimp, even if you're pimping like hard, it is really hard. Human emotions, man. Love, infatuation, testosterone. This shit is like, it's the biggest challenge you'll ever have as a man. It really is. Don't worry about getting killed by lightning or eaten by sharks. It's going to be women that are going to take you out. You know,
yeah,
yeah, that's where the risk lies. So just do your best. Just do your best. If you need more, if you need more selection in order to be selective, right? If there's only one, if you're in Russia in the 1970s and there's only one loaf of bread, guess which one you're going to buy? You know what I mean? Whereas at least if you
right,
got three loaves of bread to choose from, you know, you can make a better decision, right? So
right,
if a guy wants to get serious, he's also got to think about how to improve his ability just to get numbers so that he can meet more people, right? So that he can choose between more than one loaf of bread, you know.
yeah,
Uh, but, sometimes you don't need choice. You know, I mean, some guys get lucky. I always say the girl I had in high school was probably the best girl I ever had. You know, like literally the best by total coincidence. Literally, and I'm not kidding. Like I know her today. I chatted with her in Boston actually. The best girl I ever had was one of my very first girls. one of my very first serious girls. And I often think of the irony of that. You know what I mean? It's so
Yeah.
ironic. So
Yeah.
you got to go with your gut too. This is for guys who are thinking about having a kid, right? You got to go with your gut at the same time, right? But odds are very low. But who knows? Maybe that one loaf of bread ain't bad. Maybe you
Yeah.
just got to fucking eat that bread loaf and get on with
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean? You know,
Yeah. That's true also. That's true also.
you can't just say, "Oh, there's only one loaf. It sucks."
Right.
you know,
Right.
like I only got one job offer. That job offer sucks. And it was like
Yeah.
Goldman Sachs, right? You know, so
Well,
you got to consider all the options. You got to have wise friends. You got to be honest. You got to be the kind of person people talk to in order to figure this shit out, man. You know, and you got to be willing to be devastated because that's
I
what it
think
does.
that's yeah. I think that's a big part of it.
If
It's,
you hold on to wanting to feel good and wanting to have that warm feeling about women, you are headed for disaster, my friend. You know, you got to
yeah.
be willing to see the truth. Whether you choose to have any kind of anybody in your life or not. Because being angry and bitter is not the same as accepting the truth about your ex-girlfriend, for example. You know what I mean? I'm sure
Yeah.
there's really angry, bitter guys who they're not even close to the type of man that could accept the truth about their choices, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're bitter about
I-
something else and they don't even know the real situation.
Right.
It was like 10 times worse than they've ever imagined, right? You know.
Right.
So, there you go. It's a full contact sport, right? So, I say, for this PJ man is if anybody knows him, which I wouldn't be that surprised, but if anybody knows him, I say survive this media onslaught and difficult, I guess you could call it whatever you want, like attack or whatever. But it was a brutal, I think it looks to me like it was a very brutal, a very callous and brutal move, you know, on top of the fact that he's publicly humiliated, right? Because can you imagine the type of humiliation? I mean, think about it. You're an NBA star, man. That guy's a star, right? And you're new in the league, get a $14 million contract. You're getting up there. I personally, just to be honest, I didn't know the guy. To be straight, I didn't know PJ Washington, and I'm a fan of NBA. But the Hornets, I really don't know much about them. I know LaMelo and I know a couple things, but I actually watched LaMelo quite a bit. But I didn't really know much about him. But he's got to survive a media onslaught. He's like very young. He's got a lot of money. That's hard to deal with. He's got, sounds like he was tricked. Sounds like he's gonna, you know, be paying massive amounts of money. He might even have, he could even, here's the crazy thing. This guy, this Washington character could end up in jail as a deadbeat dad because even though he pays 200,000 a month for many years, if his contract goes down, these family court judges, a lot of them are totally insane. And they could say, well, we're not going to lower it, even though his contract goes down. And next thing you know, he's in jail. This happens to guys all the time. And, it's such a kangaroo court situation that we don't know what's going to happen. So I say support your brothers because even if he did make a mistake, even if it was an epic mistake, this guy could kill himself. You know what I mean? Like, being humiliated publicly and kind of going from the penthouse to the doghouse, right? And then it affects his game, then it might affect his shot. I would say to him is like, blow all these motherfuckers off. You're a fucking star. Focus on the game. Improve your jump shot. Get better. You know what I mean? Become a better player. Use this as fuel. Use this anger as fuel. Use this frustration as fuel, and make a ton of shit ton of money where this doesn't even like really matter that much. You know what I mean? And just get on with it and blow off pundits that don't really know you, right? and learn your lessons. Learn your lessons. You know. So I guess
So
that's where we should end it there.
yeah, this seems like a good point. That's awesome call, Ronan. Thanks for having me on for this.
Yeah, man. Thanks for bringing it up. That was a good topic. There was a lot. I actually have whole new like I'm planning a new podcast that is going to be it's going to blow your mind, and it's tempted. There's some similarities to this one, and it's about female nature, and it's going to be one of the heaviest ones I've ever done. So I won't publish it until it's absolutely perfect, right? So I'm going to work on it, and I'm going to do it with somebody else that you know. And so when that bad boy is ready, I'm gonna publish that. So thanks for bringing up good topics, and I always appreciate it.
Right. Later, guys.
All right, man. Thanks for listening, and look forward to hearing your comments below.